This is the Brother XL2600i, also known as the dark blue Brother in our classroom. There's two parts of this machine, the main machine body and then the foot pedal. The foot pedal is like the gas pedal in a car. When you push it, that's what makes the machine go. And when you are not sewing, your foot should be on the carpet and not on your foot pedal. Over here on this machine, there is an on-off switch. You flip it on and a light comes on, and then if I was to press the foot pedal, things would move and they would sew if we were sewing. Let's talk about this moving stuff. First, the hand wheel. The hand wheel's over here on the side and it rotates towards you. Thumb on the top, rotating towards you, towards you, towards you. If you were to rotate it away from you, inside this here area, there's mechanics that would get messed up. The string would get sucked into the gears and then the machine would not run properly. So always, always, always thumb toward you. Over here, when we move the hand wheel, lots of things move. Let's talk first though about this little mechanism. This is the this is the presser foot lifter bar. This little mechanism here is called the presser foot. It's like a little foot. It's got an ankle, it's got toes, and this moves it up and down. When you move this up and down, I should not hear it. It should be nice and quiet like it is now. So you hold on, take it down, hold on, pull it up. When I move the hand wheel, you will notice a number of things moving in this area. The first thing, of course, is the needle. It's right there. The second thing are these little teeth. Those teeth are called the feed dogs. The feed dogs are the conveyor belt of the sewing machine. So they feed the fabric from the front of the machine across and out the back. The other thing that moves is in here, this metal thing that comes up. There it is right there. It's going to come up to the top. It's going to go back down. That is called the thread take-up lever. And then the other thing that moves is in the bobbin area. When you sew, you use two spools of thread. One is a little spool. It lives down here in the bobbin area. One is a big spool, and it lives up here on the spool pin. In here, when we push this over to the right, that cover pops up, and we can get into the bobbin area. This is plastic. As you can imagine, it could break easily. This tab over here on the side could also break easily. Make sure that when you take this off, you set it just off to the side in a nice safe spot. Do what you have to do, and then put it back in by putting that plastic tab under the metal and clicking it into place. If we look into this bobbin area, if you look right in here, you will see a little piece of metal go by. There it went. Here it comes again. There it is right there. See it? It goes by. That is the bobbin hook, and it helps make the sewing happen. So it spins around when you move the hand wheel as well. The cover back on. This area here is the throat plate, and it allows you to measure when you're sewing to have a straight line. You line the fabric up on these lines and you sew. You don't look over here at the needle, you actually look over here and you sew, and then you have a nice straight line. It's called the throat plate. Up here, we had the thread take-up lever in this stitch. Here in this stitch, this is where the tension is controlled. The tension controls how fast the thread comes from the spool pin and ends up at the needle. This gets controlled by this dial here, which should be on the 4. When you thread the machine, the threads lives up here at the spool pin. On these machines, some of them, the spool pins will go down. They are not a fidget toy. Please don't play with them. They will break. You pull it up to put your thread on it, and when you put the machine away, go ahead and push it down again. But right now, let's say that the thread would go from here, then it would go through this thread guide here, down through the tension ditch, up into thread take-up lever, down again, through a little thread guide right there, down the needle, through this little crack on the presser foot, and then off the back. Up here on top of the machine, we have another thread guide. So when we're threading the machine, it goes to this U, like this picture. When we're winding a bobbin, which means that little spool of thread that lives down in there, we have to put thread on it. And that gets thread on it by using this thread guide and putting the bobbin on the bobbin winder. And we'll learn how to do that eventually. On this machine, the way that you control how the stitches work, this is your width control. There's a little picture on here. At 0, it would be a straight line there. And then over here at 5, it would be a big zigzag line. When you're sewing a straight stitch, it should be on this little wide part that's between 2 and 3, you can see how there's all these little kind of teeth and then there's like a flat spot. It should be lined up right at that. This is the patterns. The pattern is controlled here. If you want any of these patterns, you move this to the number and then you put this, which is the stitch length control, between 1 and 4. If you want any of these patterns, you would take this and you would move it to SS, and then you would move it to these numbers in here. And this just simply moves like this, the pattern control, and then the stitch length control moves like this. Generally when we sew, we're at about a 2.5, but you can make it tighter by going to 1, and you can make it bigger by going to 4. On this machine to sew backwards, you use the reverse stitch, which is here. When you start and when you stop on a sewing machine, you have to do back stitch or reverse stitch for just a little bit. That's how you tie your thread off so that it does not come undone. Like in hand sewing, where you make a dam and then you tie off, in a sewing machine you press this and that allows you to tie off. Those are a lot of parts and pieces of a machine, and you're going to learn all of those. And that was just a little introductory video, and you'll learn how to move them and to use them and to be able to sew on this machine.